sending the email this morning, I kind of went back and looked at some of the statistics. And apparently, there have been 33,000 deaths so far from the earthquake, and millions are homeless and have nowhere to go. It's winter, so it's also very cold. The situation there is really dire. Um, and so it's these kinds of, I think, events where I think we're put right into the heart of our commitment to practice and show up in certain ways, whatever that means. Now, for those of us who are sitting comfortably in our homes, and I hope you're comfortable anyway. It can feel a little helpless, yeah, to know what to do for folks around the world who are experiencing these kinds of things. So I think there's a couple of things. One is I did locate a few resources. I don't know if anyone is interested in donating money to the disaster relief efforts, but there are a couple of places, and I'm going to put them in the chat. One is called the White Helmets. I don't know if anyone has heard of this, but they are dedicated to northern Syria. These are a group of Syrians who are very altruistically responding to the disaster, to the deaths. There's also the Red Crescent in Turkey. Now, a lot of them, so Red Crescent Turkey and Red Crescent Syria seem to be taking donations mostly through Twitter, interestingly. And I don't have a Twitter account where I would put that up. Apparently, it's one of the fastest ways of sending money to these organizations that seem very trustworthy and are really doing the work of disaster relief on the ground, and by local people, by people in those local areas. So the other thing is then, how do we come together as a community? What are ways that we can certainly share our concern and love without feeling overwhelmed or feeling sort of lost in the helplessness when these things happen? And in some respects, I feel as if part of the feeling that can overcome us when these things happen is a result of something actually quite wonderful, which is interdependence. That the truth of that, if we are at all tuned into this notion of interdependence, then when these things happen, we're going to feel them, and our hearts are going to break because of that. So then what? Yeah. The practice that we'll be doing this evening, Tonglen, is a practice from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition that comes from a series of teachings that we call lojong, or mind training, that was developed largely by Atisha and taken to Tibet from India as a way of cultivating compassion. This is much part of a larger teaching. I don't necessarily want to go into the entire history of the practice and such, because I'd like to really have some time tonight to do more practice than anything. But just in short, this practice, what it does is it has us working with breath. So in the lojong teachings, in the teachings of mind training, there are 7 stages, and early on in those 7 stages, one of the instructions is to breathe in suffering and breathe out love, compassion, and place those two astride your breath. And it says, begin with yourself first. So how we progress to hold all that we feel and all that we wish and all of our aspirations for the people who have been so affected deeply and whose lives have been lost in this tragedy relies on kind of a few things. And one is that we do this together. There is a real sense of power in the one heart that we share when we practice this. And this notion of feeling kind of helpless in responding to this kind of suffering hopefully is lessened for us when we do this together. Certainly, in some way, whether you believe in the metaphysics of it or not, it is more powerful to practice any kind of practice together. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that we begin with how we're feeling about things, and we're really opening up to what is surfacing in us when this kind of tragedy and disaster strikes. Yeah, what comes up within us, and to hold that, and then recognize that others feel this too. So many feel this very feeling. What this does is it helps to open the heart to more freely send this sense of deep caring, deep concern, unconditional love to those who are truly suffering, with less agenda, with less fear. Yeah, and this is the practice here. Is how do I cultivate compassion that is strong, that is fierce, that is sort of stable, with a strong back and a soft front, which we will start. This is a lovely meditation that we will use as a preliminary to the actual Tonglen. Cultivating within the body a sense of equanimity and strength in the spine and a soft front, as opposed to the other way around, which many of us may experience every day of our lives, hopefully not, where the front is a shield. It's strong and the back is weak. Yeah? Here we're flipping that back into its rightful place by cultivating a sense of stability and softness that we can intentionally then offer those who are suffering. So I'm going to read you a passage here from Shantideva's Bodhicharyavatara, or otherwise known as A Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life. And let's just sort of sit with the aspirations here that he encourages us to sort of cultivate what we can call a heart posture, or a leaning in, if you will, in this way. May I be a protector for those who are without protectors, a guide for travelers, a boat, a bridge, and a ship for those who wish to cross over. May I be a lamp for those who seek light, a bed for those who seek rest, and may I be a servant for all beings who desire a servant in need. To all sentient beings may I be a wish-fulfilling gem, a vase of good fortune, an efficacious mantra, a great medication, a wish-fulfilling tree, and a wish-granting cow. Just as earth and other elements are useful in various ways to innumerable sentient beings dwelling throughout infinite space, so may I, in various ways, be a source of life for the sentient beings present throughout space until they are all liberated. Well, thank you, Shantideva.